All right, so we set up this much. Now, before we, go over to making hairstyles, let's try to set up a little bit of, dynamics for this. So let's say if you want to set up vellum for this guy, how do you do that? Okay, like if you want to simulate this. So what we can do is, let's come to the guides. Okay, I'm going to turn off the open curves. And we want to pick it up from the guide collide. Okay, like because this is where everything is sort of shaped up. So the idea is to animate the guides and then to take the animated data and feed it into the hair generation. So what we're going to do is we'll set up the vellum in the middle. Okay, and this is why like when I spoke in the beginning about why I don't like the Houdini standard workflow for hair, is because if you look at this is a relatively short network. Like this is not a very big network. But if you would have done this through the Houdini standard workflow, you would have like 3 different folders and everything broken up into separate folders, and then you have to figure out, oh, now I need, and then you have to add a 4th folder for doing guide simulation. So it's like jumping through too many hoops. This is, way more streamlined. So let's just jump in here and let's set up vellum. Okay, so we're going to first do hair. So take hair and configure hair. Before that, we need to set up roots. Okay, so that it needs to be stuck. Otherwise everything will just fall down. So what we do is take a group expression. This tip was given to me by someone, like I didn't know this existed. Usually I do it through a for each, but this is much more faster. So what you do is you take the guides and put it in there, change the group type to points and call it roots. And in the vex expression, this is ready-made, this is like in there. You'll get something called first point of primitive. And if you click that, there you go, it automatically selects the first point. Okay, so it's basically looking for the vertex from primitive index 0, vertex number is equal to 0. Okay, so it just automatically finds it. Anyways, fairly simple. Okay, and then just plug this in. And what I also want to do is we want to set up the collision geometry. Let's see if we can do that from here. I don't know if it will work or not. Otherwise, we'll pick up the geometry coming in from somewhere else. Okay, but this is fine. Okay, so the hair is set up, and what I want to do is just increase the stiffness a little bit and increase the damping ratio, and then set up the roots. So we'll set up the roots. If you have animation, you switch on match to animation. Otherwise you don't need to, but we'll keep it on anyways. And then we will take the vellum solver. Okay, so if I just plug in the vellum solver, and it should work. So 1, 2 and 3. Let's see if it brings in the guide. Yeah, there you go, it brought it in. Perfect. Okay, so if I press play, it should do something. There you go. So because I set up the stiffness, it doesn't fall down, like it doesn't droop too much, which is good. Okay, maybe we can lower the stiffness a little bit. Yeah, see, so if you lower the stiffness, it like really falls down, which is, I don't want that. So keep it around like 5 or 6. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, now along with this, let's say I also want to give it like a little bit of force. So let's take a pop force. And what I want to do is I want to give it some Z direction wind. So we'll make it like -5 and some amplitude. So it's a little noisy. And if you press play, yeah, there you go. See, so you get like nice little, windy hair. Okay. Let's take it up to around 50 or 60. Yeah, that's okay. Now let's do a couple of things. So what you need to do is, before we connect it into the hair generate, we're going to get rid of the attributes. It's going to have like a ton of attributes now, like a whole bunch of them. I don't need these many. I can, like, you can keep a few. I'm just going to get rid of everything. Maybe you shouldn't get rid of everything, like it would be nice to keep velocity and stuff. But for now, I'm just going to like, yeah, this is like far too much stuff. Yeah, so I think if you do a star, it'll just get rid of everything. Yeah, so it just like when I did if you do the up arrow and CD, then it'll avoid, it won't delete that. Okay, so we could probably do that. And do we have velocity? Yeah, we have velocity. So let's just keep velocity as well for final rendering work. Okay, and then everything else I can just get rid of. So we'll do like a star here and a star there. Okay, the other thing you need to do, and this is important, is if you plug it in directly now, it causes problems. Like if I just plug it in, you don't get hair. What happens is it gives some weird warning. I don't understand what that is. But what you need to do is you need to activate the guides again. Okay, so what has to be done is you take a guide activate. So it has something called guide skin attribute lookup. So you have to do this. So you plug in the guides and then you plug in the skin. So the skin is there. That's all you need to do. And then you just plug that in and then it will be fine again. See. And so if we come back here, you'll see like we're back to where we were, except now it's animated. So if I like come into this point, see, now it's animated. Okay, let's do one thing. I'll do a 50 frame flipbook. So so we can at least see what's going on. So I'll just set that up and then I'll come back. Yeah, and there you go. So this is, and there you go. So this is our basic animation, which actually looks pretty nice. So this is how we can not just set up the entire hair system, but we can also set up the simulation. That's the one thing I really like about Vellum, is because they added it to the SOP network itself, even though it's sort of like a enclosed DOP network put inside a SOP node, which is great. But it makes the whole process much more streamlined. Like I don't need to jump to the DOP network to do something like this. Okay, so that makes it a lot more easier. Like especially when you're doing something as simple as this. Like if you're just doing a walking creature, right, and you just want to have the hair animate without having anything overly complicated. Like you don't want to do weird stuff like break attributes and the hair are going to blow away after time or some nonsense like that. If it's just fairly simple hair simulation for a character or creature, you don't need to go to the DOP network anymore. You can just set up everything within a single node tree and you're done. Okay. And this is, as I said, like this is a really short and simple node tree. So you don't need to do anything too fancy with it. So you don't need to set up a DOP network. You don't need the two guide and hair folders or anything. Just keep everything in a single SOP network and you're done. Okay, so these are the basics. So the next lesson, we'll start building a hairstyle. So we'll make, like, as I said, we'll make a short hair and then we'll do other stuff. It's not going to be very different from what we're doing now, but hairstyles are, better to do. Because at some point in time you might want to do characters, or if that ever becomes a fancy for you, then it's nice to know how to do hairstyles, right? Like this is fine, but combing a hairstyle is a different thing altogether. Okay, it's a little more, the process is slightly more involved. Okay, so as I said, next lesson we'll build a hairstyle and then we'll continue from there.